Hey everyone, and welcome to the new web series, Did You Know? Composer Edition. My name's Jay, and in this series we're going to be going a lot of famous composers and a lot of facts about them. Some of them may be known that you can Google and just come up right there, and some of them I had to really dig deep to find some interesting facts about them. With this series, I'm hoping to educate a lot of people on how interesting these classical composers really were, and a lot of them were very weird. Today, we're going to be going over a composer who is very famous in today's world. Even for people who aren't into classical music, you've definitely heard his name. I'm talking about good old Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Now, Mozart has gained a lot of fame in his recent years, especially with a movie that came out called Amadeus. This movie did a great job of detailing just how interesting of a person Mozart really was. And if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend you go see it. Just wait till after this video. Now, while this movie did get a lot of things right about his life, there were some things that were exaggerated and not done correctly, just for story's purposes. And I'm not taking it back for that, because it's still a great movie. But did you know that Mozart and Benjamin Franklin actually have something tying the two together? Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was born on January 27, 1756, in what is now modern-day Austria, to his father Leopold and his mother Anne-Marie. Now, Mozart's father, Leopold, was a musician himself, having played clavier and many other instruments throughout his whole life. So when Mozart was a child, Leopold was the first to discover his great musical talent after watching Mozart react to the way his older sister played music. Mozart started his musical life at the age of 4, in which he started playing clavier and violin, taught by Leopold himself, wanting to be just like his older sister after watching her for so long. He also began to compose at the age of 4. Totally not jealous. From here, Leopold had Mozart and his sister join a sort of child prodigy traveling circus kind of thing, where he took them around, usually lying about their age, making them 1 or 2 years younger than they actually were, to go play for courts and to go play for other people, so make some money for the family. This is when Mozart began really unofficially his traveling life. Throughout his whole life, he was always traveling and spent most of his life away from home. From here, Mozart got to practice his skills daily, playing for many different people every single day. Just 4 years after he started playing music, Mozart wrote his first symphony at the age of 8. I'm still struggling writing music that's 2 minutes long. Leopold really knew Mozart was talented after they went to go watch a mass, which Mozart really liked. When they got home, Mozart sat down at the piano and was able to write down most of the mass by memory without many issues, if any at all. After his youth being spent traveling, playing for lots of people, and honing his skills out of his own joy, Mozart joined the Salzburg court and wrote music for them. This is really where he began to crank out string quartets and a lot of the music that a lot of people hear today. However, Mozart didn't really like the Salzburg court, as the head of the court didn't really treat Mozart in a really good way. Eventually, Mozart would leave and begin to write operas. Now, operas back then was where the money was, and Mozart knew this. So he wrote a lot of operas that are very famous, such as The Marriage of Figaro and so on. However, with all the money Mozart made, this would introduce him to his lavish lifestyle that he began to become accustomed to, and this would soon be his downfall later in the future. Now, just like in the movie Amadeus, Mozart did marry Constance. Now, the movie did get a lot of these facts right, as in Mozart wasn't really inclined to the marriage. It wasn't something that he really wanted. Mozart was very faithful to Constance, and he really did love her after they were married. With Constance, he actually had 6 children, only 2 of which survived infancy. Now, this led on to Mozart's later life, where he really started to crank out a lot more music and definitely a lot more operas to make up for that money that he was spending on his lavish lifestyle. This lifestyle and lack of money soon led Mozart to extreme depression, which he suffered throughout the whole latter half of his life. Mozart died on December 5th, 1791 at just the age of 35. Now, the reason he died was because the composer Salieri, who was very jealous of him, poisoned him, and he ended up just dying in his sleep in Salieri's arms. Stay woke, people! I'm just kidding. Do not quote me on that. That didn't happen. This is the part of the video where we get into the facts about Mozart, and I start debunking some of the myths that Amadeus said, starting with Mozart's death. Now, Mozart did die on December 5th, 1791 at the age of 35. However, Salieri did not poison them. Mozart actually died in his house with Constance and her sister by his side, and as well as his doctor. The cause of death is still uncertain, however, it is 100% certain that Salieri did not poison him. Throughout his life, Mozart wrote a total of 626 pieces. Now, another movie myth that I want to debunk is how the movie portrays Mozart as an alcoholic. I'm not taking away from his drinking credibility as a proud Austrian man. However, Mozart was not as much of a crippling alcoholic as they made him to be in the movie. I mean, in letters discovered between Mozart and his friends even say that Mozart's favorite drink was punch. Now, Mozart did like drinking, but what actually did him in was his lavish lifestyle, not a severe case of alcoholism. Speaking of his lavish lifestyle, Mozart actually did love going to parties, and his favorite game to play at parties was actually billiards. At parties, he was also known to be the center of attention, always doing interesting things to keep the party live and upbeat. He was even known to play the piano backward. That means like with his hands like this, like he actually did in the movie. Mozart was actually also a member of the Freemasons.
Illuminati, anyone?
Just kidding, not really. Mozart was also very fond of the compositions of both Bach and Haydn. And halfway through his life, Mozart was actually able to meet Haydn, and they became very close friends. Mozart in real life was actually really immature, just kind of like portrayed in the movies. Not as exaggeratedly so, but still. Mozart was good, and he knew that he was good. This led him to be very cocky and very arrogant, which led a lot of people to dislike him. One of these people, just like in the movie, was actually Salieri. Now, Salieri did have extreme jealousy towards Mozart because of the talent that he had. And just like in the movie, Salieri did try to make The Marriage of Figaro a failure, which kinda sorta succeeded. Out of all the pieces that Mozart wrote, only one remained unfinished, which a lot of people may know as Mozart's Mass. This is true, Mozart died before he could finish the Mass, and though there are a lot of finished versions of the Mass out there, none of them obviously were finished by Mozart, but by other scholars later down the road who finished it in a way that they thought Mozart might have done so. The last part I want to clear up about Amadeus, the movie, and his actual life, was the commissioning by Salieri of Mozart's last Mass to kind of like egg him on to die and for Salieri to take credit for it after he did. This is kind of true and kind of not true. Salieri, of course, did not commission the Mass. However, the Mass was commissioned by a man named Count Walsis, who was actually famous for commissioning pieces and then taking credit for them later. This is interesting because in the movie it portrays Salieri as trying to take credit for the Mass that Mozart was writing, when in real life, somebody else was actually trying to take credit for it, and who knows, if Mozart had finished it, maybe today it might be Count Wallis' Mass. Now back to the point about Benjamin Franklin and Mozart. Benjamin Franklin actually invented an instrument called an harmonica, or a glass harmonica, which a lot of composers took interest in. One of these composers being Mozart. Not many people know this, and it's not really in the textbooks anywhere, but Mozart wrote two pieces for the instrument that Benjamin Franklin created. These two pieces are Adagio and Rondo 617. With all this, there's no denying that Mozart was definitely an interesting character, and one with a lot of things in his life that we still don't know about him. However, I hope this video helped clear up some points about the movie and maybe help you learn a few things about Mozart that you didn't know before. Alright guys, thank you so much for tuning in this week. If you like what I did here, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe, let me know in the comments what composer you want me to do next week or what composers you guys are interested in me doing. Also, if you didn't like it, be sure to hit that thumbs down button and let me know in the comments what I can improve on and what else you guys would like to see. I'd also like to take this chance to talk about another series that I'm going to be doing on this channel, and it's going to be music theory, introduction to music theory. It's going to be very basic music theory that I start out with because I hope to teach a lot of people who are interested in learning but don't have access to somewhere to go. To give them somewhere they can go to learn the basics, fundamentals, and anything else they might need. Now if you guys are also interested in more advanced theory, Schenkerian analysis, Foreman analysis, 20th century techniques, anything you guys have a question with, be sure to check out my other video and leave a comment down below as well saying what you guys want to see. This channel's purpose is for teaching, educating, and having fun with music theory. So any suggestions you guys have as well, be sure to leave it in the comments or message me and I'll look over all of this, guys. Trust me, I will. Anyways, thank you guys again so much for watching. If you like, subscribe, and I'll see you next week.